government knew about the extraterrestrials. They met them and sealed the information. The truth is not there anymore. The truth is here. They don't make mistakes. They created hybrids, half human, half extraterrestrial. Trust no one. Open your mind.
I'm approaching 72 years of age, and those who know me, and you know me, I haven't made a lot of money in this business. What I do make, I put right back into getting more information on UFOs and trying to get it out to the people. And, you know, you catch a lot of flack because people don't like some of the things you're saying, and if it doesn't go with their agenda, then you're a fraud, you're a fake, you're this, you're that. But you know what? I stand behind everything I've said to date, as long as people don't put words in my mouth when they're quoting me. But everything that I've said to date, I stand behind, and I haven't wavered. So as I get closer and closer to death, I want people to remember that, because the whole situation is the one thing I don't think any of us wants to do is die with a lie on our breath or in our mouth or anything like that. So I want people to know, I truly, honestly believe what I have been telling the people about UFOs and about my experiences. And I want them to know this, because I don't want people coming in, putting words in my mouth, and, oh, no, we got to change it, we got to change it. No. And I'm sorry, a lot of times I can't say things that goes along with the agenda of other people. I have to tell the simple, unadulterated truth. And that's what we really need to be striving for, the truth. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
And that old adage, it says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I believe that.
I believe too. And you know, the people is different. Probably there will be people from jealousy or something who are going to say that everything you've done is just for you to be in the focus. But there's a much more people in this world and also in Bulgaria they're not believers. They knew they can recognize the true from the false informations, and I personally know you for these 8 years, and I don't have any doubt about your work, your researching, and I believe maybe you're the only one person in the world now who has millions of documents. I mean, a paper and hard drives and all this stuff, and everything you're saying it's based on the documents and your personal experience and experience of your friends who was involved and you worked together, especially when you had a retrieval with the accidents with UFOs. Okay, let's start with my questions. And if you think that you're not supposed to talk about or to answer some of my questions because of the matter of national security, we can pass this. So don't worry about this. Okay, so the first question is, do you know about clone technology has been used creating duplicate humans and downloading conscious from from the real to the new one, to the cloning?
I know some science fiction movies that talk about things like that, but that's not the agenda of our visitors. The situation is that, can they clone? Yes, they can. Can they go ahead and clone me and go ahead and take my entire brain, thoughts, conscience, everything, and put it in the clone figure? Yeah, they could, but you know, like I've always said, there's universal good and there's universal evil. This right here, as far as our visitors are concerned, to use it this way would be on par with some of the things the Nazis did prior to the Second World War and during the Second World War. and they would consider that a very strong moral evil in their realm of thought.
So, if there's a kind of program for cloning, that will be uh, cloning from the side of extraterrestrials, but not from humans. Or do you know something
No,
about?
I think that eventually we're going to get around, because we have to put our noses in everything. And are we cloning right now? We, as humans, oh yeah, we are. We're downplaying it now, and that's what's got me worried. Why are we downplaying it? We have in the past, I mean, I don't know how many years ago, we cloned certain animals.
Yeah.
And we went ahead and said, okay, you know, they don't have the same thoughts or memories that the animals that we cloned, that they don't have those. But in every other way, they are the same. And to a degree, they had the same traits as those animals. So yes, we have done that. Now, since we could do that, did we have the power to clone humans? The answer to that is a very simple yes. We had the knowledge, and if we wanted to do it, we could do it.
Okay.
But here again, we still feel, as a society, that right there is a moral wrong.
Okay, next question is a little bit funny. Do you know if the scientists or maybe the extraterrestrials, they have some kind of medicine to make the human people younger?
The elixir of life.
Yes.
Actually, we have some of the medication with that, and they have some things too, but they would tell you, like I already know, and it's hard for me to do, but medication alone don't make you younger. You have to go ahead and work out some. Like right now, I can't work out. I mean,
Yeah.
my legs are so messed up. I wanted to get one of these, like a bicycle exerciser. I couldn't get that. And the one thing I do know right now, what is very key, very important, I can't just lie around here. I'd like to. I mean, I'd like to just stay right here. But I actually have to get up and do some walking. And I walk around here very dangerously, because I will go ahead, I won't use my crutch, I won't use my walker.
Yeah.
But I need to get out. Like if I go to a store, I need to take my walk, and I need to walk around that store. And getting in my car, that's a task. I mean, you got what about?
So there's not medicine make you.
No, they're not going to give us medicines that make us younger. Now the situation is the longevity. There are things that we can do, and we're doing it. I mean, life expectancy, like back when I was born, you had a life expectancy of maybe 60, 65 at the most.
Yeah.
And now here it is. I think the life expectancy is somewhere like 87. And right now the scientists are talking, well, we're 80, but we're not finished. They're talking about it going on to surpassing the century, going above 100 years. And we already know that there are people who have done this.
Yeah.
And of course they say it's for good living. I believe partly that's correct. But, you know, the whole situation is that we strive for immortality. And what we overlook, and I mean, people hate it when I get into this frame of mind, but God's reality. I mean, most people, they have to go ahead and say, well, my faith, I believe. No, I've had things happen in my life. I cannot deny the existence of God and the fact that He truly exists. Now, what conclusion is right? True,
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, when you die, what happens after that? I don't know. But I think we have something very wonderful to look forward to at the time we depart this plane of living.
Have you heard something about Galactic Federation. For first time that was seen in the Star Trek 1963, but lately these days many people talking about Galactic Federation. Do you
Well,
know something about this?
I'll tell you right now, and I mean, I keep an open mind about it because there's a lot of things that came out and some material I got that, it's questionable how it came into play. But the Galactic Federation, and hello Star Trek and all you people there, but the Council of Five,
Yeah.
I think there may be some validity to that. And the reason for that is that we have to have, when I say, okay, we don't have hostile aliens, or we don't have civilizations, but we do have rogue elements. I mean, go ahead, watch The Untouchables on Sunday morning, and you'll see these people were criminal elements. They didn't care about killing or anything like that. And the situation is, unfortunately, our visitors have alien entities that are rogue, and the bad thing about it, they have access to this technology. And just go back, I mean, to the 1930s, you could legally own a Tommy gun. And when we found, whoa, these gangsters are killing all these people, we're going to make them illegal now.
Mm.
Too late, they already have them. But the situation is, do they have rogue elements? Yes, they do. And if we had a rogue element that united, you know what, we're going to go take over the planet Earth. And they tried it. There's nothing really we could do to alter or counteract the threat that'd be against us. However, our visitors would very quietly, very subtly come to our aid, eliminate the threat, and as quickly as they showed up on scene, they would go ahead and leave the scene.
Okay. Next question. Do you know if the extraterrestrials choosing people to work with them in the Earth?
Okay, our visitors, and this I think happens every year, but we catch it ever so often. And 1989, while I was there in Germany, we called it going on there. In Russia, there was us, the French, the Germans, and the Russians. No, there was us, the British, and the Russians, and I believe possibly the French, that went ahead to try to monitor the situation, identify the children that they were selecting to follow throughout the rest of their lives, to learn about our cultural differences and our societies as a whole.
So if they're choosing people, they're choosing when they was a kids,
Oh yes,
and they follow them entire life.
that's what happened to me. And really what I need to do, and I'm wanting to do it before I die, is, and I got two electronic recorders to go from the time I was completely normal. I didn't believe in any of this. I didn't believe in no supernatural things whatsoever. Then very suddenly I got to a point where I believed that there was supernatural things that was occurring. I got to believe where now I know ghosts exist. Then I started to see people no one else could see. And I knew that there was a problem with that. But they were explaining it to me, only you're supposed to see us. And I'm thinking, this don't sound right. But over a course of time, I realized that the little children that were playing with me at the time, helped me with my homework, they weren't really little children. And of course that happened when I tried to save that little bird's life and I killed it. And Corona showed up the way he really looked and scared the daylights out of me.
Yeah.
And from there we had to go ahead and we had to rekindle our relationship and work on it to where I got to where I accepted it. So that takes place. I mean, there are literally thousands of people out there that have gone through this from the time they were children up to their adults. And literally others. Now back in the old time, and now we call it, oh, it's nothing more than old wives' tales. No, back in the old time, the visitors walked among us, talked to us, exchanged ideals with us.
When you mean, sorry to interrupt you, what do you mean in the old times?
I'm talking about like ancient Rome, the ancient Babylonians, the Greeks, and you have all these fables that talk about the sky people.
Uh-huh.
And they wasn't going to give us too much because, we were still very interested in the ways of war and to kill the maximum number of people in a war.
Mm.
And they were not about that. That's not what they wanted.
So when you're talking about the visitors choosing kids for this, maybe we know about your friend Corona. Corona chose you, or another visitor chose you?
Oh, I hate to really bring this up, but Corona was one of the first choices to follow me throughout my life. There was a female entity.
So Corona is female?
No. There was a female entity
Okay.
that really wanted to follow me. And of course, there was a concern because there's not supposed to be no sexual deviation. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In short, I wasn't supposed to have an ideal of having her as a lover or as having her as my mate.
Yeah.
And our visitors was concerned, and this was explained to me.
And that female is a extraterrestrial?
Yeah, and when I first saw her, she'd be about 2-3 blocks away from school at Highland.
How old you was in that time?
Huh?
How old you was in that time?
How old was I at that time? I was about 7-8 years old. But, this was just the beginning. But I'd always meet this little girl, and she was a blonde-headed girl, and I kept trying to ask her, why don't I see you at school? Well, I don't go to your school. And finally, point blank, she told me, there is nothing that they can teach me I don't already know.
That's interesting.
Much I could teach them that they have no knowledge of at all.
And that happened in Ohio?
That happened in Ohio. That's where everything got started. But it stays with you. Wherever you go, it goes with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question is kind of technological about some secret technology, the military. If you think that maybe this national security, don't answer, but if you think you can say something, you are very welcome. And this is about do you know of existing of some military aircraft which is have this ability to appear invisible?
Cloaking aircraft, and
something about changing of timeline.
Okay, that right there doesn't necessarily have to involve aircraft, but we can go ahead and change timelines. But we have to be very careful about that because you affect a lot of things when you change timelines. Okay, like you have certain things that's going to happen that maybe a lot of people are going to die as a result of. You go back and think, okay, I'm going to stop this from happening. You stop it from happening. You could possibly, and normally it turns out this way, you have altered the continuation of the future to be very, very separate and totally wrong for this to be taking place, because you have some people that were related in the past before this took place. Now they remember some of the relationship, but they don't have a clue as to how they're related now.
Actually, I'm sorry, maybe we're misunderstanding. My question was about this aircraft when appeared to invisible, and that happening when from inside, or someone who operating this craft make changing of this timeline just to disappear.
No, what happens there is that people don't understand science. We have cloaking devices on certain aircraft, but we can't put those cloaking devices on all aircraft. And when we have those,
Something like a stealth,
Mhm.
cannot be locating from the
like
radars.
if you're standing out here in the sunlight,
Uh-huh.
and what people are seeing is your reflection from the reflection of that light that's hitting you. If you turn the lights off, it's totally dark, and they can't see you. But when you have a cloaking device, it bends the light rays where you're no longer visible. And the same thing with the aircraft. And we got it much more developed than what I can even talk about because I don't know it all.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they have that type of technology. And the other type of technology is an entirely different thing altogether when you're talking about manipulating the space-time continuation. When you're manipulating that, that's something entirely different than going invisible. The other thing, when they can go and do this invisibly out, make the craft invisible, they can do two things. One, they can make it to where radar doesn't pick it up. If they make it to where they can pick it up, the aircraft goes, they can't see anything. There should be a target here, but where is it? It's not here. So they can have it either way, where it can be picked up and tracked on radar, or it can't be picked up and tracked on radar.
Yeah. During your military service, you had 12 cases, if I'm correct, with retrieval or not, or more of
I
12.
had 12 instances in which I was involved with the recovery of crashed alien aircraft or facsimiles thereof. Now, I was involved in other things.
And you're sure that this is extraterrestrial,
No.
is not Russian or...
I mean, we used cover stories that some of this stuff was Russian, but we had to do that. And of course, the Russians knew we were lying through our teeth. If you got teeth, I don't have any teeth, so I'll say that. But the whole situation is that
Have you touched ever these crafts?
what's that?
Have you touched it? Touch the craft. Touch.
Oh, yeah.
With the gloves or just with your fingers?
I went inside of the craft a couple of times, but I've touched it with my hands.
Inside or outside?
On the outside, on the end. The situation is that people, well, there's a high amount of radiation on the outside of these craft. No. When they crash, you get an outburst of a high background radiation count. But within 30 minutes, that's gone back to where it's within the normal proximity of normal radiation here.
Okay.
And it's the way that it's displaced. And, it's hard for us to understand their technology and associate it with our technology. But the point is, it is meant to where they don't have all these problems.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that maybe some of the ships, UFOs, they're alive or tied to a living operator?
I really don't know how to respond to that. I mean, like, we have found craft, and I've had pieces, as you know, that people have touched it and come back to tell. But it's weird. I feel like this piece of the craft has its own personality. Now, I haven't felt that, but I've had too many people who did not necessarily believe that was possible at the time come back and tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely something going on. What it is, I have no idea.
So maybe some of these UFOs, they have living operators. Sometimes they just, or maybe people talking also about morphonic.
Some of the aliens that we see that don't want to communicate with us, they just go along, and it's like they're, I don't know, it's like they're zombies. Those actually are along the lines of
Under control.
our chimpanzees that we teach to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of the UFOs have these particular entities controlling those UFOs, doing some of the bidding of some of their species from whatever planet they come from.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason it is, I have no idea.
And before to go further, let's talk a little bit about these extraterrestrials you saw face by face with them. How you feel like a human being facing with non-human intelligence.
The whole situation is, first, it's weird. But eventually you get around to where you understand that they are, and I don't know if this is a proper way of it, but I have to use terminology I understand, that you're just among other living people like yourself. You can't say human because they're, you know, we are human. They are far above us in most instances. But
Spiritually and technological.
It's just like I come from the country, and there's a lot of sophisticated people that come from the big cities. But when we get together, we can communicate. That we can learn a lot about one another. And it's the same thing with them. And it's just like carrying a conversation with other people like ourselves.
The people who is watching now or going to watch later that video, can you give your testimony about existing of whatever you saw?
We are always trying to I don't like the term, but I'm going to have to use it anyhow, back engineer from the debris that we recover. And what it really is, we are exploiting these technologies to try to go ahead, better understand them, make something that's useful for us, and make them part of our technology. However, but going back to the U.S. Space Force, it was kept from the public. And even now it's kept from the public, but there's been some documentation at surface that showed, yes, it does exist. But Trump wanted to go ahead and do two things. One, make it public knowledge that the United States had 5 military services, one of which was the United States Space Force, and it already existed, but he could never get around to get it where it was out of the way. But I think he did pretty good about bringing it to the surface that it did exist.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to defending America, it is not enough to merely have an American presence in space. We must have American dominance in space. So important. To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement.
But what people don't understand is, okay, you have the U.S. Air Force there to provide for protection of U.S. forces and the U.S. homeland against all enemies that may be trying to strike from the air, things of this sort. The United States Space Force is to provide for the protection of America, but other nations too, from threats from space. Now, they have to be very careful how they word that and how in the open they talk about that, because no, we're not talking about E.T. coming here or E.T. being we're not talking about that at all. Of course we're not. But the situation is, as we go ahead, and we got very soon to realize, when we're talking about putting, this was back during the Sputnik time, putting rocket bases on the moon to launch missiles from the moon down to Earth. There is no legitimate defense against that. Now, right now, attacks from space, no legitimate defense against those. So we say. But the United States Space Force provides with that type of protection. And it's highly classified. Hardly ever spoken of in the public,
Yeah.
but it exists.
Okay, yeah, they exist definitely, but do you think that it's possible maybe they caused these crashes of UFOs?
No,
Or maybe there's
You know, the
another.
whole situation is, do we cause our jet airliners to crash? No. Do we cause freight airliners to crash? No. Do we cause private aircraft to crash? No. They are technical applications, and the technology sometimes fails. When it fails, then you have crashes, and sometimes it takes lives as a result of that. Then we go back, we try to find out what happened here so we can try to stop it from happening again. Our visitors did not make the craft to come all this great distances just to crash here on Earth. And if we developed a means to try to force them down, they would immediately find countermeasures. Because, like, you know, initially there was concern, but 1947, July, that was a major concern. There are at least 2, possibly 3 crashes right here in the Roswell area. And of course our visitors said, whoa, wait a minute. Do they have some type of new device? Now, what were they eyeing? They were eyeing a device that we had for at least a couple of years at that time, but it was known as, it was a radar that we developed, and it was using that radar, we bounced off the first radar signal from the moon and made it all the way back to the Earth with it. And that right there, I wish I could remember the name of it. It's right on
It's
the
okay, yeah.
Anyhow, that right there was a high proclamation resolution radar. And as an end result, that caused interference with their guidance systems, and it caused them to crash. First, they thought it was countermeasures we were using, but they very quickly isolated the source and, oh, this is what's happening.
You talk about this radar who making something to fall down the...
Yeah, but that wasn't the intent of it at all. It was to be a powerful radar to where we could penetrate way out into space and see things that were out there, because we knew things were coming here from out there, and we realized that a lot of times they materialized just right outside of our atmosphere. But a lot of times they're out there roaming the cosmos, so we want to get as much as we could on them while they're out there roaming the cosmos. So this radar was very, very important, and it was highly classified at the time. But no, like I say, at that time, our visitors thought that we were developing countermeasures against them. It had them very concerned, and we could run into some problems because they were preparing to defend themselves against aircraft that were trying to intercept them. It was July 26th, actually, that there were a lot of UFOs over Washington, D.C., and the Air Defense Command issued an order approximately noon.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. In pursuit of this obligation, since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
That any UFO that refused to land was to be engaged, and every effort was to be made to try to bring it down. Einstein and some other scientists at that time went to the Pentagon and said, this is not a good idea. Our visitors are highly more sophisticated and advanced than we are. And surely they're going to have the means to defend themselves against such primitive weapons as rockets and guns. And if we go ahead and try to bring them down, they're going to bring us down. So they went ahead, changed the order that very same day at about 5 o'clock, making it to where we will monitor them and we won't make no effort unless there's provocation to try to shoot at them and bring them down. Well, the end result was we didn't have to do that. Now, in Washington, D.C., on the outskirts of Washington, and I got the there was a CIA document, but I got it somewhere over in there. I need to really publish that when I can. But there was I want to say an admiral or something of the Navy who was retired, and he found this strange piece of metal that he said on the night that they were shooting at UFO, and of course that was July the 26th, he believes that one of our aircraft shot this off one of the UFOs. So he took pictures and everything and sent it back, but then it disappeared because it's classified. And that was one of the cases that they actually made big mistakes in because they didn't classify everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff, as the old adage used to go, the cat got out of the bag before they could really close it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one good thing about it. But, people go ahead and think, that, we're trying to shoot them down, they're trying to shoot us. No. I'll tell you right now, if they went over an airfield and they didn't want any of those planes to take off, bam, they're not going to fly. They're not getting in the air at all. No, they're not going to be destroyed or nothing. The whole situation is the technologies are millions of years ahead of where we're at. It's like taking electromagnetic technology back to the time of the ancient Greeks or ancient Romans and seeing some of the things they have going on and using this highly advanced electromagnetic technology that they have things, and they're going to think, this is supernatural. This is definitely supernatural. We're going to have things flying in the air that shouldn't. We're going to have things rise up into the air, go back down. We're going to have things come up and blow up, and, no real reason for it, but that's because of the technology involved. They'll have no idea what's going on. They'll try to do everything they can to try to understand it, but because of the limited understanding they have of that technology, it's still going to be like a supernatural thing to them.
Yeah. There's in the internet and also between people a lot of rumors. People love to create conspiracy theories and anything. So the next question is about Werner von Braun. The World War III will be in the space, and that will be taken from the U.S. military, who has the reverse engineering craft TR-3B, or it's more known like a triangling craft.
TRV-3 is more like SR-71.
Okay.
But, here it was, von Braun talked about that, but the person who really talked about it was none other than, oh man, bear with me, it's time of the days. He was in charge of the Pacific Theater, the general there. You know his name. Anyhow, he went ahead and he was the one that got it started where we had the United States Army Interplanetary Research Unit, because he proved that there were spacecraft there. And he went and he told the people, one of the people was on his staff, they learned too, went back and told the general, you know, sir, the whole situation is that this worldwide event known as the Second World War is being closely observed by living entity, highly intelligent creatures, not of this world. And we better hope that they are friendly. So the situation is, he came out and said, after he graduated, or after he retired, was getting near death, the next war will not be fought here on planet Earth with rockets and guns and missiles and, you know, nuclear weapons. It's going to be fought in space with highly evolved technology yet to be deceived. And he was right. And the whole situation is, he could make this statement because he knew what he was talking about. But here again, that statement was no real threat to the security of the United States, and the people who are trying to keep all this stuff classified. After all, they're going to consider this as an old man. He may have been a general, and he may have been involved in a lot of things during the Second World War. But the whole situation is, this is just a fascination with him. And he really has no working knowledge of it, which wasn't true. He had a high degree of working knowledge of it. I wish I could remember his name.
It's okay. There's a lot of reports from all over the world about this observing of the triangular craft. Is that the
What?
that triangular craft?
Oh, yes.
Is that the same TR3B?
We can call it that, but yeah, it's the same. Only this right here, and I really don't know the designation for it.
So that is not extraterrestrial, it's a human.
Oh, no.
Aircraft.
Some are extraterrestrial, some are human.
Okay.
But the human craft, some of them we made, they're not that technologically, but more advanced. But those that are more advanced, that are shaped like that, they are, once again, are byproducts of us exploiting alien technology. And one of the biggest problems we had, which people overlook a lot, when we first got alien spacecraft, and we had some that were intact, we wanted to fly them. The thing that was pointed out was that, you know, we probably can go ahead, and it's going to be a one-time deal. We get to the point where we can pilot them, get them into the air, and be flying them. But the real problem is going to be landing them in one piece. And the whole they had to work on that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go ahead and think, well, here it is, this highly intelligent civilization shows up. And we, being the morons we are, go ahead and brilliantly back engineer and understand the technology that to us is actually, at that stage of the game, is totally magic beyond any human comprehension. Well, they show up well.
Really?
Yeah, it's just that, you know, we have a problem sometimes when we take pictures of some things this sort. But, yeah, like I said, yeah, some of these triangular craft are man-made, you know.
Yeah.
No highly advanced technology involved at all. One good example is the SR-71, the A-12, that, you know, the big spy aircraft, and the SR-71, which was used as a airliner, a supersonic airliner that the British used. Now, that right there, and they'd always point out that, okay, they have the triangular wings, which is true.
Yeah.
But we have triangular shaped craft that are both alien and very earthly. If you had an alien craft and an earthly craft sitting side by side, in many instances you couldn't tell them apart.
Yeah.
But when they started to fly, their aerodynamic characteristics, you could definitely tell apart. A very earthly technology type triangular craft has to go and make curves like this, and you know it has to go ahead, start descending and ascending. Now with the alien craft, they can be going out and make perfect right angle turns. You know, they can go up and down. They can stop on a dime.
Yeah.
Well, the earthly technology can't do that. Now, the earthly triangular shaped craft can, after it starts, it has to slow down, but then it can come to a complete standstill in the sky, and it can hover. But that's very earthly technology, pretty much along the signs of a helicopter. But no, people go ahead, and that's what's making it so hard nowadays. Oh, that was one of our craft. Well, we can't say, you know, we got all these classified aircraft now. It makes it a whole lot easier for not just the U.S. government, but every other government under the face of the sun to cover up what they know about UFOs and try to say, well, you know, that's one of our classified craft. Even though they know within their hearts of hearts, this is an alien craft that people observe.
Okay. I had some question about this UFO crashes in Bulgaria, but I don't have a chance to check the documents you gave me. Do you know on the site of this about these crashes over there?
Several years ago, I was reading some stuff on them, and I do know that there's this little village and they have this air base there, and they had soldiers there, but they didn't have no planes. Later on, people started questioning no planes, so they brought in some planes, and they'd fly them out every now and then, fly them back in, but that was one of the places that they had.
In this village locating in the mountain or in the valley, if you remember?
I'm wanting to say it was in the mountain.
Mountain.
And it was isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, for some odd reason, they didn't want to share this information to begin with the Russians, but later on, it trickled in with the Russians. Always say is that we're getting closer and closer to exposure. We're getting closer and closer to where ultimately the truth about alien visitors and UFOs is going to become known, and there's not going to be no way to block it, and we need to prepare the public for it, to where they have an open mind and can accept these things as reality. Otherwise, it's, you know, panic in the park on the 4th of July, and we don't need that. We need to where we have a rational approach to it, a very rational understanding that all of this stuff is happening, and it's happening for a reason, and we are not alone in the universe. And to the people throughout the world that know me, I want them to know I care about them. I thank them for their thoughts and prayers, and I will make every endeavor to ensure that which I tell them is truthful and based on knowledge. With that being said, God bless everyone, and everyone have a good night.
Okay. Thank you very much to have you.